And I'm going to have to get out my cheat sheet because I get nervous on camera. We were tagged by Nicole at Hidden Oaks Homestead in Victoria from Grow Your Own Groceries, Plant Don't Panic collaboration. And she's got 7 questions for homesteaders. Question number 1 is, who are you and how does the current situation affect you? So, we're Gary and Cindy from Pathways Homestead.
And there's a lot of things we could be labeled as far as who we are. We are farmers. I'm a construction worker. Cindy's a homemaker. Father, mother, husband, wife. But to answer who we are, the biggest thing that we are is we're followers of Jesus. And that's what's the most important to us. So you'll hear a lot of that in this video. And Cindy's got a verse to go along with that.
So the verse I thought fit best to describe who we are is, my old self has been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. So I live in this earthly body by trusting in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And that is Galatians 2:20. And that's the New Living Translation.
And so to answer who we are, we're those that trust in Jesus.
Yes.
And the second half of that question was, how's this current crisis affecting you?
Yeah.
You know, it has definitely affected the church.
Yes.
Which we are very involved in and is very important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's affected the way we meet. It hasn't stopped it. It just affected how it looked. And it has affected the way we shop and the things we do. It definitely affected us not going to the shindig and not going to Baker Creek and things like that we had planned on. But it definitely has reminded us of the need to trust Jesus.
Yes.
Of how important it is that we trust him, because we have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow and we have no control, but he does, so we trust in him.
Question number 2. What calms your nerves when you are scared? Well, our key verse for our farm is Proverbs 3:5 and 6, which is, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he'll show you which path to take. So, and that's Proverbs 3, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. And so that's where our biggest comfort comes from, is our relationship with Christ. And another one for me is gardening. I take a lot of comfort working with the plants, and the greenhouse is part of that. The other part is the actual gardens. In the summertime, I love to garden.
For me, the biggest thing to calm my fear is the thing that I do that calms them. As I spend time in prayer and reading God's Word and thinking about what his promises, and that's definitely working with my hands is a comfort to me, and I know that's a gift from God too. Are you in the camera?
I'm in the camera. So question number 3, will good come of this? Romans 8:28 tells us, for all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose.
Yeah, and will good come of this? The answer is obviously yes. There's some things that'll be rough in this. There's be some things that aren't enjoyable, things that are going to teach us patience and perseverance. But definitely, even in just learning patience and perseverance, good comes from that. I think that this is a time when a lot of people are going to get back to basics. The rat race is going to slow down a lot for a lot of people. That's a good thing. People are going to spend more time with family. I think people are going to investigate their faith and investigate what it means to have faith and who they have faith in. Definitely, we're already seeing a rise in people interested in what it means, who Jesus is, and just investigating that. That's a good thing. And so, will good come of it? Yeah, I think it has. It will, and it can, and it has.
And there will be bad things too.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. You know, grief is hard, and unfortunately there is, for some families, huge loss. Yeah. Huge loss of loved ones, loss of property, loss of jobs, loss of just so many things. We could go on and on. Loss of some freedoms, possibly. We'll see. You know, it's just goes down to the end of, at the end of the book, the end of the Bible, we see God wins. And so, unfortunately, part of living in this fallen world is that it won't be perfectly enjoyable. And there are things that are not fun, are not what we would think is good. And as Christians, we have a comfort that most of our loved ones trust in Jesus, and He's their Savior, and He is their best friend. And so, while if we do lose someone close to us, there's that hope that He gives us that this is not the end for them, that this is just them going through another door, and their life is continuing. Their body might be dead, but their spirit is not dead. And so that hope is very comforting. And I feel bad for those that don't have that hope, who are so just destitute. I mean, that's just, they're spiritually, emotionally, physically destitute because they have no hope. And so if you are a person with no hope, please feel free to reach out to us. You can go on our Facebook page, Pathways Homestead, and get a hold of Gary or I through Messenger. And if you know us personally,
we'd be
call,
glad.
Yes.
We'd be glad to tell you why we have hope and
Yes.
explain to you the concrete evidence why we believe what we believe, and share you how you can have that same hope. Yes.
And we want to make sure you guys know that we're open to that. And you can also email us at pathwayshomestead@gmail.com. Again, that's pathwayshomestead@gmail.com. And we will gladly get a way that you can get in touch with us and speak with us. We would be happy to speak with anybody that would like to speak with us.
Looking out through the hills and,
yeah.
and thinking of the verse, and I lift my eyes into the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord.
Yeah. And so we're very blessed, very, very blessed to have that hope. And we would love to share that with you. Are you a prepper or practitioner?
Yeah.
So according to her definition, because I went back to the original video to see, because I was very curious, because
grow your own groceries.
Yeah, grow your own groceries. And Victoria basically said that she was asking, are you the prepper, the one that's ready for the end of the world but really doesn't practice the things that are going to have you prepared for when things go bad? And a practitioner is somebody who practices it in everyday life and is always trying to look forward to preparing for themselves and be as prepared as they can be for catastrophe. So, by her own definition, I would say that we are practitioners. And you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we practice all kinds of ways of our food here at Pathways is not tied completely to the system. We do buy some groceries, but we have always practiced other ways of getting food and getting our needs met. We do a lot of bartering. This morning we traded 50 pounds of hamburger of the beef we raised. Yeah. We traded 50 pounds of hamburger for 200 gallons of propane. Yeah. And that's pretty regular swap and barter for us, is to trade meat for propane. And we do a lot of foraging, and we grow garden, and we have our goats here, the knuckleheads. Hi, hombre. And we have the goats, and we have a calf. I don't know if you can see her in the background.
You can see her back there. We'll try to get a shot of her.
And we've got another calf too that we're feeding out, and we
just picked up a calf Monday from the butcher.
Yep. And
We are able to butcher ourselves. Right now we are not choosing that option, as you know, we've downsized to the little trailer house, and it is not a good idea to try to butcher a 1,200 pound calf in March and April.
Yeah. We don't have the good facility to do that.
We don't have the facilities anymore. Yeah.
And when you butcher, we butchered one time an 1,800 pound cow that broke her hip, and we butchered that in our kitchen at the house we were renting. It felt like a brontosaurus when we were done. We were calling it the brontosaurus. But we definitely have the ability to provide for ourselves, and it's something that we regularly do.
Yes.
And I'm not sure there is, for us, that making our own means, that growing our own food and providing our own goods that we need, building our own stuff, that's a worship thing, especially for me. I find a great deep closeness with God when I'm part of that circle He's created. I'm not a singer, and any of you that's been in church with me, you know I am not a singer. And I am not a big people person. I love people, but it is a lot of work for me to be around people. So deep, meaningful worship is when I am working in the garden, when I'm butchering a calf, or butchering a hog, when I'm feeding calves. That's deep worship for me. Mm-hmm. And so definitely, I guess practitioner is the definition here. Yes. We have a verse to go with that too.
Yeah. So Proverbs chapter 6, verses 6 through 11 tell us, "Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer gathering food for the winter. But you lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you awake? A little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber." So Gary kind of gave a little bit of his worship. My worship, I worship a lot in my garden. I worship a lot planting my garden. I love the seed catalogs. I get a lot of seed catalogs. I love poring over those catalogs, picking out new things to grow. I love weeding. I love mulching. I love gardening. I really, really do. And I enjoy preserving that harvest. I enjoy canning. I enjoy freezing. I enjoy dehydrating. I enjoy so many of those things, and while I'm doing that, I'm praising God and thanking Him for providing for us, and we just super connect. A lot of this came by, we didn't know any better. This was just the way we grew up, the way we lived. Some things we've learned a lot.
And some of it, financial situations, was you better learn how to go find a meal and not have to buy every one of them, and how to do things yourself.
This is not our first.
It's definitely not the first time we've gone through crisis situation.
Yes, crisis. That was the word I wanted.
It's not the first time that we've had where you just couldn't go to the store and buy everything you needed. I had some health problems at one time, and man, we buckled down and homesteaded.
Yes.
We had a little piece of property that we were kind of renting to own or whatever, and a school lease, and we just figured out how to grow and make do and make everything go. We couldn't afford propane, so we cooked on the old wood stove, and the wood stove we had in the house at that time, you could cook 64 pancakes on it at one time. We figured that out.
Little pancakes.
And so that's, my kids, I remember one time we were selling all the calves we were raising. We didn't eat beef, and we were eating at somebody's house, and my son whispered and said, "Dad, something tastes funny about this deer." He couldn't remember eating beef. All he knew was deer, and so that's been who we've been.
Yeah.
And so this is not the first rodeo for us.
No. Sad to say, we've seen some pretty rough poverty in our life. Not as rough as some families see every day, and God has been good, and that poverty has only been for a little while.
And it's been made better by our willingness to work.
Yes.
Our willingness to make do and make things happen and make our own and go with, be content with what we had.
Yes.
and that's been made it all a lot better. And that's what the verse talks about. That's how you keep from starving.
So question number 5, what are you stockpiling?
Well, our biggest stockpile around here is friendships, relationships. That is what we work on building up the most. That is the most important to us. Our place, even buying this place, building, putting the house in, building all this stuff, completely depends on friends and people that help us and people that care about us. And we try to spend a lot of time building those relationships. And friendships are the most important thing, and that's what we stockpile here is friendships.
So Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verses 9 through 10 say, 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in big trouble. Friendships have got us a long ways. Our friendship with Jesus, number 1, and then our friendship with others. And our friendship with each other. A marriage is pretty hard if you're not friends. Been there, done that. And it's better if we're friends.
Yeah. And the giving and the receiving on friendships, a lot of times I've found that the people that really help me out in times of need, I can't always find a time to help them, but I try to, but to help them back. But I help others that can't necessarily help me out, and that's kind of the way you give and take in friendships. It's all your friendships, not just one friendship. And so the biggest source of being given to in that relationship circle is Jesus first. And in Matthew 15:15, he says he calls us friends. I'm sorry, that's John 15:15.
John 15:15.
John 15. All right.
So, question number 6. You're stuck on a deserted island with only 5 fruits or vegetables to grow. What do you choose? And we choose sweet potatoes because you can grow your sweet potato and you can save sweet potatoes for starting your own seed. You can propagate your own plants off of those. Slips, yeah. And you can eat the leaves of sweet potatoes, so you can grow them over the winter in your house in water and actually eat the greens off of them. Yeah. And they preserve well. I mean, like they winter over well. You can can them.
Well.
You can can them. You can store them.
They store really good.
They do store really well.
And I think we've planted just a type of kind of a Beauregard type sweet potato for years, and they've worked really well. The next one would be okra, specifically Grandpa Cargill's okra, which is a Clemson spineless type okra that he had kept seed from, and then we got seed and have kept them. We've been planting it for over 20 years and keeping seeds, and that would be the okra I would plant. Okra, if you don't know, okra is a very prolific plant. It'll grow in some dry, old, rough ground, and it'll grow and put on lots of food. And you can pick okra, you can pick it every 2 days when it's growing. And in a hot old Kansas or Oklahoma summertime, or even if you're down in Texas, you can just pick it every 2 days, and it'll put on lots and lots of food. A short row of okra will put a lot of food. You can eat the young okra pods is the way we eat them. I know that my children have told me that in Africa they take the adult okra and just boil a slime down out of it and make kind of a sauce out of it and use it all the time.
It'd be mature.
Mature okra, yeah. And I was reading the other day that the seeds, the dried seeds, you can press and make a really oil that's a delicacy, make like a cooking oil out of the seeds. Last year I started eating and making tea out of some of the blooms. Are edible. And there's just a lot of food production in a short row of okra. So okra would be on there.
All right. The other one would be green beans because they are so prolific, especially bush beans. You pick them and they'll continue to bloom and continue to provide until frost. And so You can can them, you can freeze them, you can do a lot of things with beans as well.
And if you plant green beans and you don't get them picked,
yep,
you shell them. And
shell them. You got
you
dry
can
beans.
have shelled beans, or you can let them dry and have dried beans.
Yep.
And they're just there's a lot of food production in a green bean, and you can save some of your own seed. It's easy to keep it going.
Yeah. Alrighty, and you can pickle them too. Then the next thing would have to be our multiplying onions, or their real name is Egyptian walking onions. Those are a really good one.
Yeah, and you can have onion. Go ahead.
Hello.
You can have onions, either the green onion part or the tops. You can use onion for seasoning and cooking in your food just about year round out of a multiplying onion. And there's something that you start once and you have from now on. And I saw some the other day at a place that I'm betting it's been 20 years since they were planted. So yeah, multiplying onions are a good thing to have.
And we kind of debated on this last one. We really struggled.
Grow 5, which is ridiculous. Who would ever only grow 5 vegetables?
So we debated. We debated whether it was going to be tomatoes. Was it tomatoes?
Or squash.
Or squash, or greens. You know, lettuce greens, or kale greens, or some kind of greens. So that was our debate. We did choose greens.
Yeah, it would have to be some kind of green.
Some kind of green, lettuce, kale, just turnip green,
turnips,
what else?
Yeah.
Some kind of green would have to be our thing. Last question. Whoop, whoop. Thank you guys for sticking with us to the end here. I know it's going to be long. Question number 7. How have the current events changed your gardening or homesteading plans this year? Not much. We always have the goal to be a little more sustainable here on the homestead. That's just our life. Just to try new things and to keep providing a little more for ourselves. So the only thing that it really has changed a great deal, like for the homestead, is our local farmers market. But we were already looking into some other avenues of adding some things, and we're hoping to add more of like a CSA type thing. It's not going to quite be CSA. We'll do some kind of box.
Subscription box.
Yeah, like a subscription box that they can, and they can opt out that week. You know, we can give them a heads up of what we think will be in the box that week, and then they can opt out. And so we're working on several things that were already in the works. You guys saw the shed, and we're working on that for our freezers to have be able to store our meat. And I'm working on our application process to be able to be licensed to sell our meat, besides just somebody buying it on the hoof. So that's where we're at there. So farmers market. But on the flip side, we are seeing a little bit in definitely, you know, our church family and church groups not being able to meet. And
so that's, it's changing some of that plan for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know, our you know, we got the goals of love Jesus, love people, grow food, build stuff.
Yep.
That's still kind of what we're doing.
Yep. So yeah, I guess that's not a whole lot of difference. So tags are Morris Patch of Heaven Homestead, and they're in the Ozarks of Missouri. And then Where to Begin Homestead and Crooked Woods Family Orchard. So those are our 3 tags. And if you have a channel, or even if you don't have a channel, if you're looking for your first video to do because you're wanting to step into your channel, this is perfect. I'll tag you. You can just list that you have been tagged by me, and remember that it was started by Victoria at Grow Your Groceries, and the title of this is #Plant Don't Panic Collaboration. And so I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's videos. There's You know, several of our friends already have some up. I'm excited for that, and I'm enjoying seeing them. So thank you guys for watching, and I pray you have a blessed day.
Bye.